Have you ever had God remove people from your life and you didn't really understand why? Now, I'm not talking about people that you hated or didn't like and not toxic strangers, but people that you actually loved, people that you prayed with, people that you did life with, people you thought would always be in your life and be in your corner. And then suddenly, everything changed, everything shifted. These relationships shifted, the doors closed, or God started putting something in your heart that said, it's time to move on. It's time for a change. And your spirit just knew it, but your heart wasn't ready for it. Today, I want to talk about something that I think a lot of believers experience and maybe have experienced more than once, but not many people seem to talk about it. And that is this: sometimes before God elevates you, he separates you. And that separation can be one of the hardest seasons that you'll ever walk through. I think sometimes we imagine elevation like it's exciting because isn't it supposed to be exciting? Like God is just going to open doors and everything is just going to feel amazing and be perfect, right? But what people don't always tell you is that sometimes the first step toward elevation is actually separation. God begins removing things. He removes people and he removes those voices. And sometimes he even removes people. Not always because someone did something wrong, but because they can't go where God is taking you. And that doesn't mean they're bad people. Not at all. It just means they were part of a different season of your life. This is the part that people don't talk about enough. Obedience can hurt. We love the scriptures about blessing. We love the scriptures about breakthrough, don't we? But we don't always talk about the emotional side of obedience, do we? Sometimes obedience looks like walking away from people that you still care about. Sometimes it looks like staying quiet when you want to try to explain yourself. Sometimes it looks like letting God close a door, even when you'll miss what was behind it. And that is hard because just because God closed the door doesn't mean you stopped caring about the people inside it. One thing I've learned in this season is that you can miss people and still know that God closed that door. Those two things can exist at the same time. You can remember the good times. You can remember the laughter and the tears. You can remember the years of friendship or community and still know that God is saying this season is over. And that's not easy because part of you wants to go back to what feels comfortable, to what feels familiar, to what you knew for so long. But sometimes what's familiar is not what God has for your future. I think there are several reasons God does this. One reason is it's because he is protecting you. Sometimes God sees things that we don't see yet. Another reason is growth. And sometimes the people around us are used to an older version of us, not this newer version. They knew us in a different season. And when God starts changing us, they probably won't understand it. And sometimes God separates us because he wants our full attention. If we are constantly surrounded by voices, we may never learn to hear his voice clearly. Now, there are seasons where God removes distractions, not because he wants to isolate you forever, but because he wants to teach you something. There are things God can do in a quiet season that he can't do in a crowded one. Because when everything gets quiet, you start hearing him differently. You just do. You start praying differently. You start depending on Him in a deeper way, maybe more so than ever. And even though it can feel very lonely at first, especially, that quiet place becomes sacred. Another hard part of this season is being misunderstood. When you follow God's leading, not everyone is going to understand your decision. Probably most of them won't. Some of them might think you're being distant. Some may think that, oh, you changed so much. Some may even feel rejected. But sometimes obedience means allowing people to misunderstand you while you continue trusting God. Because your assignment is not to manage everyone's opinion. Your assignment is to follow the voice of God and nothing else. Here's something I'm starting to realize. Separation is not punishment. Feels like it at first, but it's preparation. God is often preparing you for something that requires a different level of maturity on your part, a different level of discernment, a different level of obedience, even. And sometimes the environment or the environments that you are in, they weren't designed for the next version of God, who God is shaping you to be. So before He moves you forward, He has to clear the space. And one of the hardest things we can do is trust God with relationships. Because relationships involve our hearts. But God cares about your future more than He cares about your comfort. And sometimes love looks like God saying, not this season, not this place, not these voices, even when you wish the answer was different. So if you're in a season right now where God has been separating you from people, I want to encourage you with this. Just because the season changed doesn't mean the memories weren't real. Just because the relationship ended doesn't mean it didn't serve a purpose in your life. Some people are meant for a chapter. Some people are meant for a season. And some people are meant for the whole journey. God knows the difference. We may not always know the difference until that happens, that season happens anyway. And sometimes obedience simply means just trusting Him, even when you don't fully understand it yet. Even when you still miss the people. Even when your heart is still catching up to your obedience. But I believe this with all my heart. God never removes something from your life without purpose. He just doesn't. And one day, you may look back and just realize the separation that hurt the most was actually the beginning of your next season. If this message resonated with you, let me know in the comment section, please. I love to read people's comments. Have you ever walked through a season where God separated you from certain people? And what did He teach you through it? Just some questions to ponder on until next time. God bless each and every one of you, and I love you all so very much, and so does Jesus. God bless.